Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the LAFCO meeting of Wednesday, May 5th, 2021. I'd like to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Yes, good morning, commissioners. Good morning, public attendees. Thank you, Chair Cummings. Roll call starting. Commissioner Jim Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Roger, you're muted.
Roger, you're unmuted. I mean, you're muted at the moment.
I'm here.
Excellent. Good morning. Commissioner Ryan Coonerty.
Here.
Commissioner, or should I say, Chair Justin Cummings.
Here.
Excellent. Commissioner Francisco Estrada.
Good morning, here.
Good morning. Commissioner Zach Friend.
Here.
Vice Chair Rochelle Lather.
Present.
Alternate commissioners. Alternate Commissioner Ed Banks.
Getting some type of feedback. There we go.
Doesn't look like Ed's on the line.
Oh, he's not on yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Alternate Commissioner Yvette Brooks.
Good morning, here.
Good morning. Alternate Commissioner John Hunt.
Commissioner Hunt's muted, but he is here. There he is.
Here. Good morning.
Excellent. Thank you. And Mr. Serrano, we had word that alternate Commissioner Manu Koenig was not going to be present this morning.
He's not present at the moment, but he is an alternate. We can proceed. We do have quorum, Chair.
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you very much. With that, I'd like to ask the executive officer to summarize the virtual meeting protocol.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this is just a brief update. The commissioners are well aware, but just for the public, we are conducting this online meeting using the Zoom platform. This will allow the commissioners to have complete control over their microphones and webcams. For members of the public, their microphones and webcams have been disabled, but they still have an opportunity to view and participate in commission discussions. During public comments, they have two options to address the commission, either by clicking on the raise button icon on Zoom. If they're joining us via conference call, they can press *9 to raise their hand, and they'll have up to 3 minutes to address the commission on any particular agenda item. And as always, on these online meetings, if there is commission action, a roll call vote will be conducted. And Chair, that's just a quick summary of today's virtual meeting process.
Great. Thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners or members of the public about the meeting process? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our first item of business, which is the adoption of minutes. And I'll turn it over to our executive officer.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to inform the commission that the draft minutes format has been revamped. You may have noticed. The information is similar from past minutes, but it now follows the agenda's outline. So it's just easier to follow on what was discussed and what particular agenda item. But again, it's very similar to what we've done in the past. It's just a more modern revamped format. And Chair, staff is recommending that the commission adopt the minutes for the April 7th meeting.
Okay. Are there any questions from commissioners or edits to the minutes?
I'll move we approve the minutes of our past meeting.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jim Anderson, seconded by Roger Anderson to approve the minutes from the April 7th meeting. Are there any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to the clerk for a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Jim Anderson.
Here. Aye.
Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan Coonerty.
Aye.
Commissioner Francisco Estrada.
You're muted.
Aye.
Commissioner Zach Friend.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rochelle Lather.
Aye.
Chair Justin Cummings.
Aye.
And for the record, this motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is oral communications. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on items that are not on our agenda. I'd like to see if there's any members of the public who'd like to speak during oral communications.
Chair, we have not received any requests via email or on the Zoom platform at this time.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to our next item, which is public hearings, and I'll turn it over to our executive officer to start this item.
Great, thank you, Chair. Good morning again, Commissioners. This service and sphere review is the second of 4 service reviews that will be presented to the Commission this year. This one focuses on the Scotts Valley Water District, which was formed back in 1961 and is located at the central point of the county, as shown on the top left of your screen. For purposes of today's presentation, I will summarize the 6 key findings in the draft report, which is available in your agenda packet. That's a complete analysis of the district, but today I just want to focus on the 6 key findings. And the first one being, the district provides services to approximately 12,000 residents. And this is accomplished through an intricate system with groundwater basins, treatment plants, pump stations, storage tanks, as well as a reclamation facility for recycled water. With such a robust water system, it's important that these components are running efficiently, which leads to our next finding. Our analysis shows that the district adopts a capital improvement project plan every year as part of their annual budget. This earmarks the necessary funds to keep everything running smoothly. It's also our understanding that the district has recently developed a 10-year CIP plan with estimated costs. And that leads to our next finding. The district is financially healthy. In fact, 4 of the last 6 audits identified an annual surplus ranging from $260,000 up to $2.2 million. In their last audit, the district had a net beginning fund balance of approximately $17 million. So they're able to have a healthy fund reserves and also identify and earmark the necessary funds to ensure that their system is running efficiently. And that leads to my next finding, is that LAFCO was able to conduct a detailed analysis and showcase this information in our report because the data is available on the district's website. Scotts Valley Water District operates a detailed website, and it really shows how a special district should be transparent to its constituents. Now, the first 4 findings were more of observations and evaluations of how the district operates. However, the next 2 findings may actually lead to commission action. The first one involves the city of Scotts Valley itself. At this time, Scotts Valley Water District is a primary water provider for the residents in the city of Scotts Valley, which is shown in green, and the city is shown in the hash marks in the map. But San Lorenzo Valley Water District is also a provider of water to the city and is shown in the blue on the southeast side of the city limits. I think it's timely to have a discussion and coordinate with the city and the 2 water providers to see, is this the most efficient way of providing water to the residents of the city of Scotts Valley? Or perhaps, is there a more efficient way of doing it, either through a reorganization, identifying 1 water provider instead of 2? I'd like to have those discussions with these 3 agencies. The next finding involves the current sphere for the district. The current sphere of influence includes 8 areas that are immediately outside the jurisdiction of the district, but currently unserved. These areas should be annexed in the foreseeable future. What I found interesting is that the current sphere also excludes areas that are already served by the district. And you can see these 4 areas in question that are identified from the red arrows. I think it would be more appropriate to reflect the areas that the district is currently serving. So staff is recommending that the sphere be expanded to include these areas in addition to those 8 areas that may be annexed in the foreseeable future. And again, I think it's timely to have these discussions with the district to see if they're interested in annexing some of those areas or all of them in one application. And I think having discussions with the district may lead to some of those annexations. That being said, staff is recommending the following: that the commission find the report is exempt from CEQA, that the commission determine that the report fulfills the requirements under Government Code Section 56425 and 56430. And finally, staff is recommending that the commission adopt the draft resolution approving this service and sphere review for Scotts Valley Water District with all the conditions, including directing staff to coordinate with the city and the 2 water districts to talk about the efficient delivery of water to the city, and also directing staff to adopt, or not adopt, but update the sphere boundary to include these areas already served by the district. And Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions once you open and close public comments.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the commission on this item? If so, please press *9 on your phone to raise your hand. Once you've been acknowledged, you will have 3 minutes for your comments.
And Chair, we do have one hand raised by Ms. Perrette Harmon. She is the General Manager for Scotts Valley Water District. So Ms. Perrette, I'm asking you to unmute yourself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, good morning, Chair Cummings and Commissioners, Perrette Harmon, General Manager, Scotts Valley Water District. I just wanted to commend Joe Serrano and the process. It has been very smooth, and as much as we provided most of that data and information, we learned quite a bit. And it's an excellent document, just have everything in one place, not only for public to have access and more transparency, but also for the staff. So great job done. And I also agree with the staff recommendations.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who would like to address the commission on the item before us?
Chair, I do not see any other requests via email or on Zoom right now.
Okay. Then seeing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for any questions, comments, actions, and deliberation. Are there any commissioners who have questions or comments on this item?
I just had a question. If San Lorenzo, if there's some kind of there's some kind of moment between San Lorenzo Valley Water and City of Scotts Valley, do you how do you do that process to annex? If you unannex let's say Scotts Valley, and then you annex them to the city, they can't both be overlapping, can they?
You're absolutely right. So I'm going to go back to this map really quick. There's 2 things that could possibly happen if we have a discussion with the city and the 2 water districts. One, we determine that the status quo is appropriate and we need 2 water providers to serve the residents. Or if the collective group thinks that it's more efficient to have 1 provider, it would be a reorganization. That would require, so there's a couple of different ways of doing it, but let's do an assumption that Scotts Valley Water District is the most logical provider for the entire city. We would detach the area that's currently served by San Lorenzo Valley Water District and concurrently annex it into Scotts Valley Water District jurisdiction. That would be, it can be all done in one application. But again, that's just one scenario. But in all 3 parties need to be in agreement in that. So that's why I want to have discussions to see if there's any interest in that type of action. But it would be a group effort and it would be a reorganization through the LAFCO process. And it's been done before. So it's nothing new. And I've been able to accomplish those in past experiences.
I'm sure it's not as simple as it sounds because there's pipes involved and pumps and everything else, but
Right, but through the LAFCO process, we can indicate that the responsibilities of those pumps and those infrastructure gets transferred over to the successor agency. And again, in this scenario that I just mentioned, it would be Scotts Valley Water District. So there, again, these are negotiations, discussions that would happen as part of the LAFCO process if the three parties are in agreement. So I want to make that clear. This is just I'm just giving scenarios at this moment.
okay, sorry about that, Justin. I didn't ask to speak, did I?
No, it's okay. Don't worry. Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Yeah, I like the report in general. There are a couple things though that I wish it included. And that is that there doesn't seem to be any history of basically the aquifer capacity in the report. And Joe was sufficiently kind to send me late last night about 400 pages of appendices. And I scanned through those and still didn't find anything about the capacity of the aquifer. Now, Scotts Valley has done a good job in terms of looking at the recycled water and basically trying to deal within their limitations. But I would like to see at least a link and a discussion of the various annual reports which have been written about the, and here is one is called the Annual Report Water Year 2016, Scotts Valley Water District Groundwater Management Plan. So it'd be these groundwater management plans that I think are important to understand what is actually, what limitations does Scotts Valley Water have, and how do their planning fit in with this general natural limits of the recharge of the aquifer. So I think that that's something which really does need to be included in the report. And the other thing that I can't find is I have one such report from 2016, but are the others on the Scotts Valley website? That would be useful to know.
So that's a great question, Chair Roger Anderson. I would defer to Ms. Perret to just verify that those reports are available on the website. But I do want to just emphasize that this report, I try to capture a high level analysis, but at the same time, a detailed analysis of the operations of the district. I don't want to really repeat the other informations and other reports. I think you're right. I think the report should have attachments or links to those aquifer reports. But this is staff's attempt to kind of capture everything that the district is doing. And I apologize if this report didn't include more information about the aquifers, but it's very difficult to capture the last 5 years and of a district. But I think this is a detailed report. But I'd be more than happy to include additional links to already established aquifer reports. And I do see Ms. Perret's hand up. So Ms. Perret, I'm asking you to unmute yourself.
Sure, yes, absolutely. You're right, Mr. Anderson. The supply portion of the operations is the best presented in those annual reports. We do have all of them, I believe, at least the last 10 years available on our website, accessible. But this current year that was approved by our board, so it's for the water year 2020, ending in September of last year. That is going to be the last one of sorts, because going forward, what will replace it is the groundwater sustainability plan reports that are done for the Santa Margarita Groundwater Agency. And maybe that's another thing that Mr. Serrano, you would like to include as an attachment, or at least reference, that the supply for this area is not, it's a shared supply, it's a shared resource. And maybe the mentioning of the Santa Margarita Groundwater Agency and how it fits in with Scotts Valley Water District, that might be of interest or value.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments from commissioners? I have I have a couple questions and comments. So it seems like there's potentially a couple or a variety of situations with respect to, the discussions around the merger between Scotts Valley and San Lorenzo. Based on the map you showed, it seems like there could be the possibility of one, maintaining the areas as they currently are. Another could be that San Lorenzo or Scotts Valley could pick up the portion of the services that are provided by San Lorenzo Valley, and then there's the full merger. And so I think it'd be good. I think having those discussions are great. And I know that there have been discussions already underway. I've attended a few of those meetings where there's been some discussion around merging the two water districts. But I think it'd be good if maybe, prior to further discussions, if there's an opportunity for us to receive some input on, where the discussions are at, the timeline for when these mergers would take place, or kind of what's come out of the meetings that currently happen, and then, what ways that we could weigh in as a commission on those discussions.
Great. You raised some good points, Chair Cummings. It is my understanding that both districts are continuing to discuss exploring consolidation. I do want to emphasize that, let's say consolidation is not on the table. I do appreciate the fact that the two districts, that their boards and their staff are at least having these conversations. They are constantly looking for ways to be more efficient. And that's why I feel it's timely for LAFCO staff to be as a resource and have a seat at the table and say, is there anything else? If consolidation doesn't work at this time, is there anything else that we can help you to be more efficient? And that's why annexation of these unserved areas or the reorganization that I just mentioned, I just wanted to emphasize on that. I really appreciate the discussions by the two parties. As for a status update on their discussions, it's my understanding, and Ms. Perret can correct me if I'm wrong, San Lorenzo Valley Water District is going to discuss or explore the consolidation effort at their next meeting, which I believe is either tomorrow or the following Thursday. It's my understanding that the general managers from both water districts develop some type of pros and cons list of consolidation. And I believe that's going to be presented to San Lorenzo Valley Water District's board at their next meeting. And I believe it's tomorrow. Staff will be attending that meeting. And what staff can do is provide an update to the commission on those discussions at our next meeting. So I can definitely place that in the agenda item for June.
That's great. Thanks. Okay, are there any further questions from commissioners? Seeing none, I'd like to see if there is someone who'd like to move the item.
I'll move staff recommendations.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner.
I'll
Jones.
second.
And we have a second by Vice Chair Rachel Lather. If there's no further questions or comments, I'd like to ask the clerk to please call the roll call vote.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, thank you, Chair. And just to confirm, the motion, was that by Commissioner Jim Anderson?
Correct.
Correct.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Jim Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Roger, you're muted.
There. Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Ryan Coonerty.
Aye.
Commissioner Francisco Estrada.
Aye.
Commissioner Zach Friend.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rochelle Lather.
Aye.
Chair Justin Cummings.
Aye.
For the record, this motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is item number 6, Special District Regular and Alternate Seats 2021 election results. At this time, the commission will consider certifying the results on the recent election process. And with that, I'll turn it over to staff for the presentation.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep this brief. Earlier this year, staff was notified that there was going to be some vacancies on, not only on LAFCO, but also on the Redevelopment Oversight Board. State law requires LAFCO to help with the selection process. We did send out requests for applications back in December. We did receive applications, but what was interesting is we received the same number of applications to the number of seats on LAFCO as well as on that Redevelopment Agency Oversight Board. And state law indicates that if that happens, we can select these individuals in lieu of an election. So that is what happened. So just to have a record, I am requesting that the commission adopt resolutions indicating the process. That way we have something in our records and in our files indicating that Jim Anderson and Ed Banks will be our regular and alternate on LAFCO. And also Jim Anderson and Ed Banks will be the regular and alternate on the Redevelopment Agency Oversight Board, fulfilling the requirements and also ensuring that we follow the state law requirements. So staff is recommending that the commission adopt these two resolutions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions once you open and close public comments.
All right, thank you very much for that presentation. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak to us on this item? If so, please press *9 on your phone to raise your hand. You'll be given 3 minutes to comment.
And Chair, we have not received any requests from the public via email or on Zoom requesting to provide comments on this item.
Okay. Seeing no comments from members of the public, I'll bring it back to the board to see if there's any questions or comments from commissioners. Okay, seeing no questions or comments from commissioners, I'd like to see if someone would be willing to make a motion on this item.
Move approval.
Second.
I didn't clearly see, was that Commissioner Coonerty who made the motion?
Yeah, yes, it was.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Commissioner Coonerty, seconded by Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Correct.
If there are no further comments, then I'll turn over to the clerk for a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Jim Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Roger Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Ryan Coonerty,
Aye.
Commissioner Francisco Estrada,
Aye.
Commissioner Zach Friend,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rochelle Lather,
Aye.
Chair Justin Cummings.
Aye.
And for the record, this motion passes unanimously.
All right, and thank you to our 2 chair members for your ongoing service.
Thank you for your support.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the comprehensive quarterly report, 3rd quarter fiscal year 2020-2021. At this moment, the commission will receive an update on active proposals, multi-year work programs, adopted budget, recent and upcoming meetings, and other activities. And with that, I will turn it over to staff for the presentation on this item.
Thank you, Chair. I'll also keep this presentation brief. This is a quarterly report we'd like to present to the commission, just informing you on staff's activities, the status of our current applications, where we're at with the service reviews, and more importantly, how are we doing with our budget, which I like to focus on that this morning. As of right now, we are in the 4th quarter, but at the end of the 3rd quarter, we received about $5,000 in revenue. That's primarily a little bit of interest, but mostly the recent application filing fee for an annexation into CSA 10. Collectively, in these 3 quarters, we've already exceeded our anticipated revenue amount, so we're over 100%. As far as our incurred costs for these 3 quarters, we're currently at 51% of anticipated costs. And ideally, at the end of the 3rd quarter, we want to be 75% or below of anticipated expenses. So we're doing really well with our expenses. And I anticipate that we'll end this fiscal year with a small surplus that will be carried over to our upcoming budget, which will be used to balance our budget for fiscal year 21-22. Other than that, Chair, this is an informational item. No action is required, but I'm happy to answer any questions once you open and close public comments.
All right, thank you very much. If there are any members of the public who'd like to comment on this item, please press star 9 on your phone to raise your hand, and you'll be given 3 minutes to address the commission.
We do have a hand raised. I'm going to unmute this individual. You have been unmuted.
Good morning. This is Becky Steinbruner.
Oh, good morning, Miss Becky. Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning. Thank you. I just want to commend Mr. Serrano for his excellent work. And doing all of these reports in-house is saving a lot of money. And I think actually the reports are of better quality than they were when they were contracted out with other outside agencies at a higher price. So I just want to take the opportunity to really thank Mr. Serrano for his excellent work, and please keep it up. As a member of the public, I very much appreciate your good work and your responsiveness to the public. Thank you. That concludes my comment.
Thank you, Miss Becky. I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much for those comments. Okay, seeing no other members of the public who would like to address us on this item, I'll bring it back to the commission to see if there's any questions from commissioners at this time. Okay, seeing no questions from commissioners.
Just
Oh,
one
sure.
quick thing. I'm looking at this screen in front of us. There is one thing that sort of baffles me a little bit, and that is under total amount as of 3/31. I assume the last row is supposed to be the difference between the previous 2 rows. And I think there may be a few $100,000 or so sort of difference in those 2 numbers. So you give a balance of difference of 419,000. And I think the actual end number using the previous 2 would be 300 and some thousand. So it might just be a quick check. It's an easily done.
You're absolutely right, Roger, and I apologize for that. It's just a minor editing issue, and I'll make sure I address it for our next quarterly update.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from commissioners? Okay, seeing none, this item does not require any action. So we will move on to our next item, which is written correspondence. LAFCO receives written correspondence and other materials on occasions that may or may not be related to a specific agenda item. Any correspondence presented to the commission will also be made available to the general public. Any written correspondence distributed to the commission less than 72 hours prior to the meeting will be made available for inspection at the hearing and posted on LAFCO's website. And so I'll turn it over to staff to see if there's any comments on written correspondence.
And Chair, we did not receive any written correspondence during the agenda packet preparation or after it was distributed. So there's no items to discuss at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next item is press articles. LAFCO staff monitors newspapers, publications, and other media outlets for any news affecting local cities, districts, and communities in Santa Cruz County. Articles are presented to the commission on a periodic basis. And so I'd like to ask the clerk if there are any press articles during the months of March or April that we should receive an update on.
And Chair, again, this is an informational item. Staff does not have a presentation. This is just an ongoing effort to inform the commission on LAFCO related articles, and including what's happening in our county and as well as other LAFCOs around the state. So there's no action required. This is just an informational item.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any commissioners? So next item is commissioner business. Are there any commissioners that have anything they would like to share or discuss at this point in time that's not on our agenda? Okay, hearing none. The next item on our agenda is a legal counsel report. LAFCO's legal counsel may take brief announcements in the form of a written report or verbal update. It may not require commission action. And so I'd like to turn it over to our legal counsel to see if there's any presentations.
Good morning, Chair. Nothing to report today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item up on our agenda is closed session. Pursuant to state law, closed session may be held to appoint, employ, evaluate the performance of, discipline, or dismiss a public employee. Prior to the closed session, the public is invited to address the commission on items regarding closed session. The item we have before us today is conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2-1, potential case. And so I'd like to see if there's any members of the public who would like to address the commission on items that are on our closed session. If so, please raise your hand and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
And Chair, we do have one request from Ms. Becky Steinbrenner. Ms. Becky, I'm requesting you to unmute your phone and you have up to 3 minutes to address the commission.
Good morning. This is Becky Steinbruner. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I understand the legal code that you do not have to provide any specific information, but as an interested member of the public, can you please describe just the general topic that this potential litigation would regard? Is it a certain area of the county, a certain policy? What in general does this regard?
Thank you, Ms. Becky. I would defer, Chair, I would defer to our legal counsel to answer that question.
Yes, good morning. We are not at liberty to discuss what is happening in closed session. If there's anything to report out of closed session, we will do so to the public, but at this time, that is confidential information.
Okay, seeing no further comments from members of the public, I just want to remind the commissioners that instructions on how to access closed session is available in the memo packet that has been provided by staff. And with that, we will move into closed session at this point in time.
And just a quick reminder to the commissioners, I am calling in. It's going to be a conference call. So if you give me 1 minute to set up the conference call, and then you can call in.
And I have one quick question too. So will we, for members of the public who are interested in this item, are we going to come back onto the Zoom platform after the meeting, after the closed session?
You're absolutely right, Chair. After we complete our closed session, we'll reconvene back to the Zoom meeting. So I do recommend to the commission to mute your microphones when you call in. And then once we're done with the closed session, you can just hang up and then join us again on Zoom.
Joe, I don't see a call-in information, so maybe I'm.
All the commissioners have received a separate email with a closed session confidential memo. In that memo, there is the instructions to connect to the closed session.
Okay. Okay, I'll look through it again. Okay, thanks.
So we'll give a moment for the commission to join us back on Zoom.
All right, looks like we're back from closed session. Is everyone? Okay, it looks like everyone's back from closed session. And so I'd like to turn it over to our legal counsel to report out on any actions taken during closed session.
Thank you, Chair. There is nothing to report out of closed session. Thank you.
Okay. With that, it looks like last item on our agenda is to adjourn. The next LAFCO meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021 at 9 a.m. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today and for taking the time out of your day. And we'll see you on June 2nd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Ethan, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Everyone take care.